So, Dave, have you had anybody come to you in your state to say we're looking into this? A police report was filed?
Not a whisper. And we work closely with we have a decentralized law enforcement system in Ohio, but we have regular contact with prosecutors and local police and sheriffs. Not a whisper anywhere. Something maybe even more telling, Jesse, is my office runs the state crime lab. Any case like this, you're going to have a rape kit, you're going to have biological evidence, and you would be looking for DNA analysis, which we do most of the DNA analysis in Ohio. There is no case request for analysis that looks anything like this.
That was Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost being loud and wrong. Some would say predictably so. I'll get back to him in a second. First, a Columbus man, Gershon Fuentes, 27, has been charged with impregnating a 10-year-old girl here in Ohio, whose travel to Indiana to seek an abortion led to international attention. Gershon Fuentes' last known address was here in Columbus, and he was arrested Tuesday after police say he confessed to raping the child on at least 2 occasions. He's since been charged with rape, a felony of the first degree in Ohio. You should know that the 10-year-old girl also named him as the father to the since-aborted child. Now, the Indianapolis Star first reported this case earlier this month that a 10-year-old victim traveled from Ohio to Indiana for abortion services after most abortions became illegal in her home state, the state of Ohio. The account was attributed to Dr. Caitlin Bernard, an Indianapolis physician who provides abortion services. Meanwhile, Dispatch Alert's reporter Bethany Bruner said, "I was the only reporter in the courtroom this morning as the man accused of raping a 10-year-old girl, impregnating her, leading to an abortion in Indiana, was arraigned." She added, "This confirms that the case exists." Shout out to her and every other reporter and journalist who broke this, because until then, Dave Yost was on national TV saying,
"There are some serious red flags here. Whether it did happen or didn't happen, I think there's a ton of questions and, frankly, a ton of misinformation out there, too."
Well,
for example,
yeah.
This canard that she was forced to leave the state to get treatment simply isn't true. And she doesn't have to know that. I wouldn't expect a 10-year-old to read the law, but I would expect her doctor to read the law, or if the doctor's too busy or confused by it, to talk to a lawyer, because there's clearly an exception, not just for the life of the mother, but for a substantial likelihood that the loss or impairment of a significant bodily function.
So not only will Dave Yost have to answer for his take, he put out without hedging, by the way, but he put much of the spotlight on police and prosecutors. Did they miss something, or was it Dave Yost? He also said, quote, "What I'm saying to you is there is not a damn scintilla of evidence, and shame on the Indianapolis paper that ran this thing on a single source who has an obvious axe to grind." So the newspaper has an axe to grind, not the Republican Attorney General, who clearly has an agenda with his stance on abortions. We could go on and on about Attorney General Dave Yost, who, according to Jake Zuckerman, regularly touts his former journalist credential, was just remarkably wrong about this in a very public way, and it really didn't take all that long for an investigative reporter to find receipts. But this needs to include Fox News, Representative Jim Jordan, the guy who refused to believe the boys on his wrestling team were being molested at The Ohio State University, my alma mater. This includes the Wall Street Journal, Brendan Stewart, Michael Brendan Doherty, not simply because they were wrong, but because they treated something that was a common argument from pro-choice advocates for decades as if it was a far-fetched lie. Not simply because they may not apologize or so much as even delete their tweets, which I kind of want them to leave up so we know who they are, but because they will simply turn the spotlight, its focus of this tragedy, to the status of the perpetrator, who is an undocumented individual and was working at a local cafe. Or the doctor who performed the abortion. Dave Yost or any of these people I just named saying, "We rejoice anytime a child rapist is taken off the streets," isn't enough. Being, quote, "absolutely delighted that this monster has been taken off the street. If convicted, he should spend the rest of his life in prison," isn't enough. We can all agree on that sentiment. But taking this tragedy into account and having it reflect the will of the people on policy decisions here in Ohio is what's needed and necessary. The future little girl that we've been warning this country about may not be able to go to a border state to get the care she needs. Not that it's anyone's business why someone would get an abortion in the first place. For Rebel HQ, I'm Jeff Wiggins. My architect knows Japanese. For more from the Young Turks, stay right here. If you want to see content from yours truly, click on the hashtag below. I can also be found on all socials at He Gon' Be Alright. Thanks for watching.